Don't mind the mess around me. I'm still working on putting the room back together after finding some water in the sewing room. I thought I would share a couple quilts that I recently finished while on kind of a quilt retreat with a few of my friends, and share a few things that I picked up at the thrift store, as well as some new quilting notions just for me. And I believe I do have a little bit of an unboxing. So we've got kind of all the things happening in this video. So let's get started with taking a look at the quilts. Okay, everything is really kind of still messy, and I haven't had an opportunity to hang things back up. So, but I really wanted to share what I've been working on. And so here we go. First quilt. So I'll talk about the quilt really quick. Occasionally I find some fun things on eBay and I buy them. And for this set, it came with all of these half square, yep, they're half square triangles, and one block was finished. So this was the finished block with the cream center. All my other pieces came just like in 6x6 squares that I had to put together. And so that's what I did. I used the one block as the inspiration, and I had linen pants from another video that I had cut up, and so I took the linen pants, cut them up, and I used it for my squares, or for the corners of these pieces. So when I put them together, this is what they look like. So I ended up with 4 blocks total, and so I put the 4 blocks together, and I had this stripe fabric. It's not quite the thickness of ticking, but it's very similar to it. It's almost like a brushed fabric. So I used that to give space to the blocks. In the end, I had leftover pieces, so leftover squares. I am a person who likes square quilts, and so this is just me. I love square quilts. I'm not long or rectangle. I just like square quilts. That's how I am. And so I thought I am just going to sew them together into half blocks and add the half blocks to the quilt. And then I've got a piece for the corner. And then I did have the other half blocks that I can put together. So my quilt ended up square. So I've got the 4 big blocks with a little bit of sashing in between, and then the pieces along the top and the side. I may consider actually hand quilting this one. I don't do that typically or very often, but I do love to do it occasionally. And so I actually might hand quilt this one. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. For my second quilt, so I was at the retreat with friends for quite a few days, probably 4 days, I think, Tuesday to Sunday. So yeah, so we sewed Wednesday to Saturday. So had a lot of fun. Always a lot of fun to sew with friends. So this, just to give a little bit of background on this, I had an opportunity to teach on a cruise for Stitch in Heaven, and I had a blast, and it was so much fun, and I'm teaching on another one. So please, if you're ever interested in what sewing on a cruise looks like, come sew with me. It is next year, 2025, August. And we are going to Alaska, and the quilt is adorable. It's a spool quilt. I don't know the designer off the top of my head. It's not one of my patterns, but I'm totally fine. It's a fabulous quilt, and I'm really excited to get another opportunity to teach. While I was teaching, there was a couple gals there, and one gal was sewing. She was making a quilt using seersucker fabric. Now, Do you remember seersucker fabric? I totally remember seersucker fabric. My mom used it, and it's kind of got a crinkly feel to it. Usually comes in super cute patterns, just like quilting fabric. It just has a little bit of a different texture. And she was working on this, and I just loved it. So after the cruise, of course, I had to go to the thrift store, find me some seersucker fabric, and then I made this with it. I am trying to think if I cut it up into 3-inch strips. I'm not really sure. I need to measure them because sometimes, like the next quilt I'm going to show, all the strips are a different size, and these I think are pretty equal. So anyways, or maybe they're not. I'm not sure. So this is the second quilt I worked on, and this is seersucker fabric. And when I did a haul at the thrift store, I had picked up a dress, and this fabric actually is from a dress. So I've got a mix of seersucker fabrics as well as the dress fabric. Okay, so this is my seersucker quilt. I don't tend to make large quilts either. I like square quilts, and I like lap size quilts. This quilt I will be writing up a tutorial for, and so watch for that video coming out. It's very forgiving, super easy, makes up really quick, and is great for strips. So that is coming soon. But as you can see, all the squares are different, but they are the same size. And so when you sew them together, all your intersections and your seams line up nicely. But maybe, you know, these are not going to be lined up perfectly, which I am fine with, and it's very forgiving. I did have quite a bit of fabric left over, so I added a stop border with the dress fabric, and then a piano keys. Of course, simple, quick, easy to add an extra border with piano keys on the outside. So this tutorial is coming soon. That was my second quilt, and now here is my last quilt. So I was able to work on all three and get them actually quite done. So I'm really super pleased with that. Usually for these retreats, I just like to have fun. And so I go to the thrift store, and I found a bunch of seersucker, which I was super pleased about. The other thing I like to do is buy shirts. And so I found, I went on Dollar Day, so all the clothes were $1. And I was able to find a bunch of flannel shirts, and I cut them all up and had them all prepped prior to going. So sewing them wouldn't be, my sewing time wasn't taken up by cutting up. I did, however, have to cut them into strips. I did not come prepared with them cut into strips. So here is the third quilt. Now this one is not square, and it is larger. But I love this quilt. It is so yummy, okay? So I decided to do an L log cabin. These are large blocks. I'm trying to find, okay. Here is the block right here. Here's the block. It's an L, a log cabin L. So you start with your center square, and then you do two sides, two sides, two sides, two sides. You never go around the full log cabin. You just do an L. And at first I had made them kind of, not small, but I think they were around 8-inch. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to add some borders. What am I gonna do? And then in the morning I was thinking about it. I'm like, I'm just gonna make the blocks larger. And so I sewed more fabric because I had a bunch. And so I sewed more strips and made the blocks larger. Now what's fun about this is even though this isn't flannel, this was the yoke, and it had the tag from the yoke inside the shirt. I also used the pieces that had pockets, and I didn't worry about cutting it in half. So this pocket is totally cut in half, and I just didn't care, okay? I just didn't care. This is the beauty of using shirts for quilts. Here's another one that's cut in half. This pocket. I also put in the sleeves, so you can see I've got a little hole right here, but I'll take care of that when I'm quilting it, so I'm not too worried. I also have to watch out for a few snaps, because this one had snap closures, and then I've got some tags, billabong right there. I have one area which is just like a placket with the button. Super cute. Here's another pocket with the button. Do you make quilts out of shirts? Do you love using the pockets? Like, what do you use? In some of my strips, I cut them really wide so I could use a large piece of the pocket so it didn't get totally cut off. So I cut some of them into smaller strips. Some of them are larger strips. And then I have to show you, I made a mistake. My rotary cutter accidentally nicked the fabric and I had a hole. And I was like, do you know what? This is so forgiving. I laid fabric right on top of it. I stitched it down, and this is going to rag when it's washed and soften up. And I just am not going to worry about it. I did not unpick it. I did not stress about it. I was just like, this is it. I am going to just sew a little patch on it, and I'm going to be okay with it. So this one, I have a plan for. It is for a gift, and so I need to find some yummy flannel for the backing so I can get this quilted and ready for giving. But I'm super excited about that. So yes, large L blocks. And this one, I will have a tutorial coming out as well on how you can make your own, because this is a great, great, great quilt that you can sew up probably in a weekend. Speaking of seersucker fabric, I was just at a quilt group, and we had kind of a summer sale. I didn't bring anything because my room is a mess, and I just wasn't prepared to bring anything, but other people had stuff set up, and you know, fabric, notions, supplies, you name it, it was there. They also had a free table, which is always a lot of fun. I should have brought something for that, but I didn't. Anyways, I found some seersucker fabric. So here you go. You can kind of see that it is a little bunchy. It's so cute. So I'm going to audition a few. I'm not sure what I'm going to use for the backing of the seersucker quilt, but I have a good option, possibly. If not, I can cut that up totally. I also found a piece of seersucker. It's so soft. When this stuff gets washed, it seriously is so soft. And this one is a little thinner. I'm not too worried too much about it though. So anyways, so a second piece of seersucker going into the pile here. I found this cute piece. This would be great for the back of a picnic quilt, possibly. Really? Actually, this one would be great for that. So it's got a nice weight to it. It feels a little heavier weave. I think it's probably because it's a homespun versus a cotton where it's printed on it. The front and the back will look identical on this one. So there's that piece. And my last piece is kind of a chambray with little hearts. Oh, so cute. It's It is a little stiff, and I'm not sure if that's the sizing or what. So I might want to wash this one prior to using it, see if it'll soften up. But it's super cute and would make kind of a fun back for a smaller quilt, which I'm looking at something right now, and I might use it for that. I also found this beauty. So cute. Look at those bright colors. Look at these animals. They are so adorable. Oh my gosh. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this yet. Maybe a cute, just super thin summer quilt for a baby. I don't know. So I've got pretty good yardage on this one because it's just folded over at the top. And so I need to look around and see if I can find a pattern that would be cute to go along with all of these fantastic animals. Now, while I was at the exchange, I found me a new ruler. It is so fun. It's so funny how we just get excited about the simplest things, isn't it? So the 6x12 ruler is my all-time favorite. I take it everywhere. I love it, love it, love it, love it. But I've used it so much for so long that my grid is hard to see. It's coming off. And so I've kind of been putting off buying a new one, but somebody had one for $5. And of course, I just ran over there and snatched it right up. So I have a new 6x12 ruler, which I am more than ecstatic about. And I can put my other ruler in my travel bag, and it doesn't ever have to leave, which I'm really excited about, actually. So my travel bag has its own ruler. I also have been kind of researching and exploring the wedding ring quilt, and somebody had their whole template set. Oh my gosh, their whole template set. So the paper is not even off of these, off of the acrylic, and it has the rings. So it has the center shape. It also has the rings. It also has, if you want to do it scrappy, and these are the corner pieces. Oh my gosh. So I'm really kind of excited about that. It also had this book, and the book is really quite fabulous. So I'm going to dig around and see if I can find it on the internet, and I'll put a link in the description if I do. But it's colored, which is fantastic, of course. And it shows you how to do like an ombre style or scrappy. So it's got all of the options and how to use the templates, which I'm not a super user of templates. However, I have been kind of exploring it, and I think I might give it a try. So we're going to give it a try and see what I can come up with using that. While I was away, I got a few packages, and I thought I would share what I have got. Oh. Okay. Here we go. This is the Oliso multi-mats. Oh my gosh. Do you love using wool mats? These are so fun. But let me tell you, I might have to do a video on how to use them. So they have these corner pieces. And what this allows you to do is put two together and connect them, and you can make whatever size you need, which actually for my ironing station, it is on my long arm, and I totally could put two side by side. So we will explore the Oliso pressing mats. Super excited about that. There we go. There we go. And this month, you guys know I do have an QUILT, and I have one video that is the kitty cat, which is so adorable, the applique kitty. So hopefully I'll put that in the description. But anyways, I have some new QUILT dies. Oh gosh, yes. I'm sorry, I'm reacting to this without you even knowing what it is. This is the sewing machine die. Oh my gosh, look how fabulous this is. Fabulous. So excited. Okay, so tutorial coming soon using the sewing machine die. Of course, I have a new mat so I can use that die. Perfect. And, oh, okay. You know that QUILT is with June Taylor, and these are Quilt As You Go zipper bags. Project bags. Oh, with clear vinyl on the front. So they're see-through. You can actually see the project that you're working on if you put it inside. Okay. So watch for that tutorial as well, because I will walk you through the steps of putting that together. I've got quite a few projects planned, and I've been out of town in the sewing room, and so I'm just kind of out of sorts. And so more things will be coming, promise. And lastly, while I was kind of looking around the internet, and I hit a video on, I'm not sure what it's called, Kogan. Oh, I wish I could remember. Anyways, so they showed how you could make washcloths kind of by folding over by using dish towels. And so I ran into these dish towels at the thrift store, and they are hands, they've got some hand stitching on them, some cross stitch, super cute. And I have an old towel from my grandma, and it's really ratty. And I was like, what does she use this for? I don't know, but I started using it and I love it. And it is falling to bits, okay? I wish I could find it, but it's probably in a box somewhere. So I need to make some new ones. And so I ran into this video tutorial walking you through the steps of layering your pieces. There's no batting or anything, it's just the cotton. And doing a lot of hand stitching, like, I wouldn't say it's necessarily hand quilting. It's more like a sashiko or straight line stitching. You can use thicker thread. It's not perfect. It's not, you know, it doesn't have to be evenly spaced, and you can do whatever you want on it. I thought I would give it a try and see how that turns out. So I am going to do that with these napkins. So that's a set of 4, and I'm going to put them together and make 2 by combining them. So we shall see if this works. I'm hoping it does, because I love it. It's so, because it's so worn, it's so soft, absorbent, it works fabulous. So I have a few videos coming up. They are not made yet. Watch this space, because I do have plans. I just, you know, with the summer, family trips, the room flooding, it's just not worked out. And so, but I do now have a lot of inspiration, as well as a few new things to put on my to-do list. One last thing I wanted to share is they had this on the free table, and it's kind of like, do I really need somebody else's scraps? No, I don't. And these are so, look at how tiny these bits are. Look at how tiny, this is like thread in here. Look at all of this thread, okay? But I was like, oh, I can't let him donate it. It was with a bunch of triangles. I don't want the scraps. I just want the jar. I should have asked whose this was, because it wasn't, a person brought it on behalf of another person. And so I don't really know who it was. I should put her name on the bottom, like scraps of somebody or whatever. So I am going to go and stick this on my shelf. And I just love it. Even though it's so silly. Do you collect things like this? Other people's little things. It's so fun to look at. Look at this fun print down here, and then you've got more thread. It's all these tiny little bits that I just toss in the trash, and I love how they're just displayed in a fun jar. So that is my inspiration to you for today. I hope you enjoyed looking at what I've been working on, what I've been sewing, finishing. I just have quilt tops. Nothing has been quilted. Nothing's been finished at this point, and I do have some new videos coming up shortly. So we will see you then.